the pertinent point of, that role at the Steelers was that dedicated role. Like even like, we are talking that's, 10 years ago, but there's still teams having that, shared approach or managed by the comms team or, multiple people sort of chipping in, which does make it really hard to sort of to be clear across all the channels. How important was that to sort of, it was, you become the throughput and everything comes through you and becomes a high demand role, but how important was it to sort of, get things aligned and sort of have some consistency across platforms and across tone and those kind of things to sort of have that, the one person, that, that original role, which was that social media coordinator, that person was sort of the key thumbs, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, it's consistency. It's a lot of that stuff, but it's also just having someone dedicated to doing it too, where like social media, like if I have, 3 people on my staff or I have 20, you're never going to have enough to do everything that you need to do. So, but having someone that's dedicated full time to do this and just think about it and develop strategies and look at, how things were done in the past and how you cover games is as simple as that sounds is a big part of everything we do in sports. But like just having someone who was just looking at everything that the organization was doing through the lens of social media was key, because there's so many, like you said, there's so many touch points, not only with fans and what you're pushing out from content, but from all of the people within the organization of like, goals in marketing, goals in ticket sales, goals in the community, goals with partners. Like there's so many different touch points that social media then contributes to, that if you don't have someone kind of like you said, like as that one person or that group of people who are like, these are the people we need to go to discuss it with, it's hard. Like there's not really a good way to do this job part-time. Like you kind of have to have someone who's fully focused on this stuff, and you're always going to have more work than you have people for sure.
So you went from the Steelers to the Cardinals, also in the NFL, and started sort of moving into those director of social and director of digital content roles. How did that shift from being, I guess, the person always on the tools and always posting to being trying to step back a bit from that and maybe even managing or working with people that are working on particular platforms?
That's honestly, that's what I say to everyone, is that was the hardest transition possible. And like the hardest job you'll ever have is a leadership role, because you go, just like you said, like I went from the doer and covering every game and traveling with the team and doing all of this stuff to then being, the person who steers the ship and guides the people who are doing this stuff. So it was a hard transition of, this is the stuff I'm really good at, and this is the reason why I've gotten to this point. And now I have to learn a whole new job of, how do I make sure that my team is set up for success, and how do I make sure that I'm keeping them in mind of, growth opportunities and making sure that their experience is, all that they're hoping. So it was definitely a drastic change. I don't know that I was the best leader or boss when I first kind of made the transition, because it was really hard. But I think as I've grown and I've seen kind of the mistakes and the shortcomings when I was in this early on, it's, I think I'm getting my feet under me as a leader. And granted, I'm in kind of my, 6th year, I think, in a leadership role. And it's still kind of, you're developing your style, you're developing, why you want to be a leader and understanding, what's important to you. And then figuring out, how, like I said, how do you empower your team? How do you make sure that their journey is better than the journey you went through? And, me being someone who is kind of in social and sports from the very beginning, I can already help, my team with things that I'm probably still struggling with to this day, to help them get ahead of it and give them experience in things that I wish I had experience in.